If you're a coin collector or just someone who loves a good story about money, you're going to want to stick around for this one. We've got something special today, the 2015 D. Roosevelt dime, a coin you probably have sitting in your pocket right now, that could be worth a staggering $2.2 million. Sounds crazy, right? I thought so too when I first heard about it, but trust me, you're about to learn why this dime is worth its weight in gold. Before we dive in, I've got a question for you. How many of you out there have a jar full of loose change just sitting around, maybe from that time you found a few coins while cleaning the car or cleaning out your old coat pocket? I know I've got a jar myself. Heck, I think we all do. And just like me, you might have dismissed some of those dimes as just pocket change. But hold on to that thought, because the truth is, you could be sitting on a small fortune. So, grab a coffee, kick back, and let's take a closer look at the 2015 D. Roosevelt dime, a coin that's more valuable than you might think. Let's talk about how this dime could turn your world upside down. Alright, let's get into it. I want you to picture yourself sitting at the kitchen table, sipping your coffee, and looking at a stack of change. Among the coins, there's a regular 2015 D. Roosevelt dime. You pick it up and examine it for a moment. Maybe you see the familiar face of President Franklin D. Roosevelt and that little D mint mark that indicates it was minted in Denver. Now, you've probably glanced at these dimes before, but there's something different about this one. Something that makes it worth a jaw-dropping $2.2 million. So, how does that happen? First, let me take you back a little. The Roosevelt dime has been a staple of American currency since 1946. It was first minted to honor Franklin D. Roosevelt, who served as President of the United States from 1933 to 1945 and led the nation through the Great Depression and World War II. The coin has been part of the American dime series for over 70 years, so there are plenty of them out there. But, just like with anything in the world of numismatics, that's the fancy term for coin collecting, it's not always the age of the coin that determines its value. Sometimes it's the rarity and the unique circumstances around a specific coin. In 2015, the U.S. Mint produced a new batch of Roosevelt dimes, and one in particular stood out for a very specific reason. In that year, there were reports of an extremely rare error coin that came out of the Denver Mint, the 2015 D. Roosevelt dime with a unique flaw in its minting process. This error turned out to be one of the most valuable coins in modern history. But it wasn't just any mistake. This dime had an imperfection that no one expected, and it's that flaw that drives its worth into the millions. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty of why this particular dime is so valuable. The error itself had to do with a misalignment during the coin striking process, which caused some of the images and text on the coin to appear slightly off-center or blurred. But the mistake wasn't obvious at first glance. It wasn't like the coin was dramatically out of shape or had a huge noticeable flaw. It was a subtle error, one that could easily be overlooked by the untrained eye, but as soon as coin collectors and experts caught wind of this error, the race was on to find as many of these rare dimes as possible. And the results were staggering. Some of these 2015 D. Roosevelt dimes ended up in the hands of savvy collectors who knew exactly what they had. The value of these coins skyrocketed, reaching up to $2.2 million for those in perfect condition and with the right flaws. The key to a coin's value is not just the error itself, but the fact that it's an incredibly rare find. Think about it. The U.S. Mint makes billions of coins every year, but only a small fraction of them end up having unique characteristics that make them valuable. The fact that the 2015 D. Roosevelt dime was part of this small group makes it incredibly rare. When you add the fact that the coin has an error, the rarity becomes even more pronounced. This combination of factors leads to that jaw-dropping $2.2 million value, but there's more to this than just the rarity. The story of the 2015 D. Roosevelt dime is a perfect example of why coin collecting can be such a thrill. It's not just about owning a piece of history, it's about finding hidden treasures, uncovering coins that were overlooked or discarded, and turning a simple dime into a small fortune. You might not think twice about the dimes you get as change, but the 2015 D. Roosevelt dime is a reminder that there's always something more than meets the eye when it comes to coin collecting. Let me share a personal story with you. I remember when I first started collecting coins. I was just a kid, about 12 or 13, and my granddad would take me to the local coin shop. He'd always tell me, never underestimate the value of a small coin. It could be worth more than you think. At the time, I didn't quite get it. I'd go through piles of coins and wonder why he'd get so excited over a few cents. But over the years, I started to see what he meant. It wasn't just about the face value of the coins, it was about the rarity, the history, and the stories behind them. And now, I can't help but think back to those days when I realize how much potential a single coin can have. I can imagine many of you out there have heard similar stories or maybe even experienced something like this yourself. You've got that old jar of coins, or maybe you've inherited a collection, and you're wondering if it's worth anything. Well, I'm here to tell you, don't just write off those coins as junk. You never know what you might have. Just like the 2015 Roosevelt dime, you could be holding on to a small fortune without even knowing it. So, what's the takeaway from all of this? Well, it's simple, always keep an eye on the details. Whether you're just starting out in coin collecting or you're a seasoned pro, the world of rare coins is full of surprises. A simple dime could be worth millions if you know where to look and what to look for. And with coins like the 2015 Roosevelt dime, you don't have to go back centuries to find something truly valuable. If you've got any of these 2015 Roosevelt dimes in your collection, or if you're just now heading to your coin jar to sift through some change, remember, there's a lot more than meets the eye. It could be worth checking out those dimes closely, because you might just find that elusive error coin worth $2.20 million. I hope you found this video as fascinating as I did. And remember, the world of coin collecting is full of hidden gems, so keep looking, keep hunting, and who knows, maybe your next coin will be $1 million treasure. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and leave a comment down below with your favorite coin or the most interesting one you've come across. I love hearing from you guys and sharing stories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Keep collecting, and who knows, your next coin might just make you a millionaire. We're diving into a coin that, if you find it in your pocket change, could make you rich beyond your wildest dreams. I'm talking about the 1982 Roosevelt dime. Yes, you heard that right, this dime is worth a staggering $2.3 million in today's market. And let me tell you, I didn't believe it myself at first, but this is one of those finds that'll blow your mind. Now, I know what you're thinking, a dime? Worth $2.3 million? No way. But stick around because we're going to break it down and I'll show you why this dime could be your ticket to financial freedom, or at least a pretty sweet coin collection. Trust me, by the end of this video, you'll be checking every single dime you come across. So, let's get into it. Alright, let's start with the basics. You've probably seen Roosevelt dimes before. They've been in circulation for decades, and, unless you're a die-hard coin collector, you probably haven't thought twice about them. The Roosevelt dime, first minted in 1946 to honor the late President Franklin D. Roosevelt, is one of the most recognizable coins in the U.S. But here's the thing, not all Roosevelt dimes are created equal. And the 1982 Mint Mark dime? Well, it's not your average dime. So, what makes the 1982 Roosevelt dime so valuable? Well, it's all about a rare error. You see, the 1982 Roosevelt dime was minted with a huge mistake that makes it worth a small fortune today. Most of these coins were produced with the standard design, but a few dimes were struck with a misaligned die, creating an extremely rare and sought-after version. Now, a misaligned die happens when the die used to stamp the coin isn't perfectly aligned, leading to a shifted or off-center image. These types of errors are not something you see every day, and because there are so few of these misaligned dimes out there, collectors are willing to pay a massive premium for them. But it doesn't stop there. This coin isn't just valuable because of the error, the value build-up over time. Let me tell you a quick story. A few years back, a similar 1982 Roosevelt dime sold at auction for $2.3 million, and that set the coin world on fire. People were stunned. I mean, think about it, a dime, worth $2, sold for over $2 million. It doesn't get crazier than that. But this isn't just about one lucky sale. This is a trend. As more and more collectors catch wind of the value of this dime, the prices keep climbing. I'll tell you, when I first started in the coin game, I couldn't imagine a coin that small, that simple, could hold so much value. But this coin is a perfect example of how one small mistake in production can turn into a treasure. And honestly, that's the beauty of coin collecting, right? You never know what's hiding in plain sight. You could be walking by a vending machine, checking your change, and there it is, your $2.3 million dime. How the heck do I spot one of these coins? It's not like they're labeled with a sign that says, "I'm worth millions." No, unfortunately, that'd be too easy. But here's the good news: finding a 1982 Roosevelt dime with the misaligned die isn't impossible, as long as you know what to look for. The key is in the die misalignment. When the die isn't properly lined up, you'll notice that the image of Roosevelt and the Liberty inscription will be off-center. Sometimes, you might even see part of the rim missing or an odd gap between the coin's design and the edge. It's subtle, but once you're trained to spot it, it's pretty obvious that if you ever come across a 1982 dime, the first thing you should do is check the mint mark. If it's a P, you're on the right track. Then, start inspecting the coin closely for any signs of the die misalignment. And here's a pro tip: check both sides of the coin. A misalignment can affect either side, or both, depending on how the die was struck. Let's say you found a 1982 Roosevelt dime with a misaligned die. What do you do next? Well, the first thing is to get it authenticated. It's important to have a professional coin grader verify the authenticity and rarity of the coin. That way, you know exactly what you've got, and you'll be able to sell it for the highest price possible. Don't just assume you've hit the jackpot. Having it professionally graded is the best way to ensure you're not sitting on a fake or something with little value. I know it might be tempting to rush off and put it on eBay, but trust me, you'll want that certificate of authenticity to make sure you're getting top dollar. Now, the market for rare coins is a bit like a roller coaster, it fluctuates. But, based on recent sales and trends, we're seeing these dimes go for over $2 million. In some cases, even higher. And the best part? You don't have to be a seasoned collector to cash in. If you find one of these bad boys, you're sitting on a goldmine. The thrill of coin collecting, I gotta tell you, there's something incredible about finding a coin like this. I remember when I first started collecting, I didn't think I'd ever find anything rare. I thought, yeah, I'll get a couple of cool coins, but nothing that's gonna make me rich. And then, after some time and effort, I came across a rare mint error, and let me tell you, the feeling of holding that coin in your hand was something else. It was like holding a piece of history. Now, I'm not saying you'll find a $2.3 million dime on your first try, but the point is that this hobby can pay off big time. Coin collecting is about passion, discovery, and yes, sometimes, making a fortune. So, what do you think? Are you ready to start hunting down 1982 Roosevelt dimes? This coin could be worth a lot more than just its face value, and who knows, maybe you'll be the next person to walk into a coin shop and drop a dime that's worth a couple million. If you're in the business of coin collecting, or even just casually looking through your change, it's always a good idea to keep your eyes peeled for any rare or misaligned coins. You never know when that next big find might be right around the corner. And hey, if you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and subscribe for more coin collecting tips and stories like this one. Who knows, maybe the next one will feature your rare coin. If you're new here, buckle up because we're about to dive into a story that will have you looking at your dimes in a whole new way. Now, let me set the scene. You're at a coin show, browsing through a collection, and then, there it is. You spot a 2008 Roosevelt dime sitting there with a price tag attached to it that's enough to make your heart skip a beat. Now, I'm not talking about a dime worth a few bucks or even a few hundred. This one is worth a whopping $2.4 million. Yes, you heard me right. A dime. $2.40 million. And in today's video, we're going to explore how this little silver coin became one of the most sought-after dimes in the world. So grab a drink, get comfy, and let's get into it. Alright, let's first break down why this 2008 D. Roosevelt dime is worth such a crazy amount of money. In 2008, the US Mint produced millions of Roosevelt dimes, like it does every year. The dime, designed by John R. Sinek and featuring the portrait of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, has been in circulation since 1946. For most of us, when we look at a dime, we see a small, shiny coin that's worth, well, 10 cents. Maybe we toss a few in our change jar, or if we're feeling lucky, we might throw them in the fountain and make a wish. But here's the thing, not all dimes are created equal. The 2008 D. Roosevelt dime, minted in Denver, holds a unique place in coin history. This particular dime, like many other coins, was struck in large numbers. However, a few special coins slipped through the cracks and were mistakenly produced with unique features, making them ultra-rare. These are the ones that, decades later, collectors would fight tooth and nail to own. At first glance, the 2008 D. Roosevelt dime looks just like any other dime. It's got Roosevelt's portrait on the obverse and the torch, olive branch, and oak branch design on the reverse. But here's where it gets interesting. It wasn't supposed to be a game changer. However, some of these dimes ended up with minting errors or unique characteristics that collectors pay top dollar for. It all started when a few 2008 D dimes were found with an unusual feature. They had a missing mint mark, or rather, an unusual variety of mint marks that made them stand out from the standard production. These errors were a result of a mistake in the minting process, and mistakes like these are exactly what make certain coins so valuable. The rarity of these coins is what drives up their value. With only a handful of these special 2008 D dimes known to exist, coin collectors and investors have gone wild over them. The word got out, and it didn't take long for these dimes to fetch astronomical prices. Now, we're talking about a coin that you can find for just a few cents in most pockets, but if you happen to come across one of these elusive errors, you could be looking at a $2.4 million windfall. It's not just the errors themselves, it's the fact that so few of them were released into circulation, making them incredibly rare. Now, you're probably thinking, how on earth does something like this happen? How do mistakes like this even get out? Well, the answer lies in the minting process itself. The US Mint, as you know, operates huge machines that crank out millions of coins each year. These machines aren't perfect. In fact, they can make mistakes just like anything else. Sometimes, coins get struck twice, or the die used to stamp the coin gets misaligned. Other times, the minting machines can malfunction, leaving behind an error. These errors are usually caught early on in the process, and the coins are either destroyed or removed from circulation. But on rare occasions, some of these mistakes slip through the cracks and make their way into your pocket or a coin dealer's inventory. That's when the magic happens. A coin that was supposed to be a simple dime turns into something worth millions because of that rare minting error. If you've ever been to a coin show or auction, you know how passionate coin collectors can be. These guys and gals don't mess around when it comes to rare finds. A rare coin isn't just a coin to them, it's a piece of history, a treasure that might be worth a fortune one day. The 2008 D. Roosevelt dime, especially the error versions, became the talk of the town. People were willing to pay top dollar for it, and they still are today. Collectors went to great lengths to track down any of these dimes that might have slipped through the cracks. Whether it was going through boxes of change at the local bank or scouring flea markets for the lucky find, the chase was on. And trust me, if you found one of these, you'd want to hold on to it, because the market for this particular coin has only grown. It's not just a rare dime, it's a goldmine for those who know where to look. Well, the value of this 2008 D. Roosevelt dime comes down to rarity, condition, and demand. Only a few of these dimes were produced with the minting error, and even fewer are in pristine condition. The ones that have made it to auction have sold for crazy amounts of money, and that's not just some random price, it's a reflection of how rare and desirable these coins have become. For example, in recent years, one of these dimes sold for over $2 million at an auction, and experts predict that as time goes on, their value could continue to rise. So, while most dimes in circulation today are worth, well, a dime, the 2008 D. Roosevelt dime with the right error could be a ticket to an early retirement. Alright, guys, let's wrap it up. The 2008 D. Roosevelt dime might seem like just another coin at first glance, but as we've seen today, it can be worth a small fortune, if you're lucky enough to find one with that special minting error. It's a perfect example of how the world of coin collecting is full of surprises, and how a small mistake can turn a common dime into an extraordinary treasure. Have you checked your change jar recently? If you've got any 2008 D dimes lying around, it might be worth taking a second look. Who knows, you could be holding on to the next big discovery. Thanks for tuning in today. If you found this story as fascinating as I did, be sure to hit that like button, share this video with your fellow coin enthusiasts, and of course, subscribe for more incredible coin stories. Don't forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss out on another episode. Hey fellas, welcome back to the channel where pocket change can turn into pure treasure. When's the last time you gave a good hard look at your spare change? You know, that pile of dimes and nickels rattling around in the cup holder of your truck or stuffed into the coffee can on your kitchen counter. Well, what if I told you that one of those dimes, yeah, that tiny little 10-cent piece, could be worth a whopping $2.5 million. $2.5 million for a 1977 Roosevelt dime with no mint mark. This isn't some tall tale or collector fantasy. This is real, verified, and people are on the hunt for this little silver slinger like it's the holy grail of pocket change. So grab your magnifying glasses, your coin jars, maybe even that old tackle box your grandpa used to keep coins in. Because today, we're diving into the mystery, history, and massive value of the 1977 no-mint mark Roosevelt dime. You don't want to miss this. Let's roll. Now before we get into the big bucks, we've got to talk about the basics. The 1977 Roosevelt dime was minted at several locations, namely Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Typically, coins minted in Philadelphia don't carry a mint mark. But here's where it gets juicy. In 1977, a very small number of these dimes were struck without a mint mark due to a rare minting error or oversight. The coin appears as though it came from Philadelphia, but certain expert characteristics set it apart. That's what makes it so incredibly rare and valuable. The Philadelphia Mint wasn't even supposed to be producing coins with no distinguishing traits at that level. It's like finding a ghost coin. It wasn't supposed to exist in this form, and yet, here it is, and that, my friends, is the kind of mistake collectors drool over. Now I know what you're thinking. How in the world can a 10-cent coin be worth $2.5 million? Well, it comes down to rarity, condition, and demand. First off, the number of these no-mint mark 1977 dimes floating around is almost zero. We're talking a few examples, maybe just one or two confirmed to be authentic in pristine condition. Second, this dime must be in near-perfect shape. We're talking mint state 67 or better. No scratches, no tarnish, nothing but smooth, crisp details, and finally, the demand is off the charts. There are collectors out there who would drop millions for a coin this rare, especially one that breaks the rules of US mint production. If you found a first edition comic book where Superman is wearing Batman's cape, but it's real and verified, you'd be holding a collector's goldmine. Same idea here. Back in the late 90s, I was visiting my uncle's cabin up in northern Michigan. He was one of those old school guys, always wore overalls, drank black coffee from a tin mug, and had about 300 old mayonnaise jars filled with coins all over the place. That I remember asking him, "Why do you keep all these dimes and nickels?" He looked at me and said, "One day, one of these suckers is gonna be worth a fortune. Mark my words." Of course, I laughed. I thought he was nuts. But guess what? A few months ago, I got curious and tracked down one of those jars he left me when he passed. In that dusty jar was a 1977 Roosevelt dime. No mint mark. I about had a heart attack. Now before you jump to conclusions, it wasn't the $1 million one. It had a big OL scratch across Roosevelt's cheek and looked like it had been through the washing machine about 50 times, but still, that moment gave me chills. And it made me realize how close we all are to discovering a fortune in the most unexpected places. Alright, now here's where you need to pay close attention. If you're serious about finding this coin, you've got to know what to look for. Grab a magnifying glass and start with the front of the coin, the obverse. That's Roosevelt's face. Right underneath the date, you'd usually find a small D for Denver or an S for San Francisco. The reverse, and check for crisp, sharp details. A torch, olive branch, and oak branch, symbols of liberty, peace, and strength. If your dime has no mint mark, and it looks clean, bright, and uncirculated, you might be onto something. Even if it looks perfect, you need to get it graded and authenticated. More on that in just a sec. If you think you've got a winner, don't just go running to your local pawn shop, you need to send your coin to a professional grading service. Two of the best in the biz are PCGS, the Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation. These folks are the experts. They'll inspect your dime under high magnification, verify the authenticity, and assign it a grade based on its condition. If your dime comes back as a high-grade no mint mark 1977 coin, well, buddy, you just won the coin collector's lottery. As of right now, a 1977 no mint mark Roosevelt dime in pristine condition is valued at $2.5 million in the private auction market. That's more than a Lamborghini. That's more than a luxury condo in Miami. That's enough to retire, buy a fishing boat, and spend your days in the Keys catching grouper and drinking iced tea. There are collectors who have paid over $2 million for coins less rare than this one. That's how serious the market is right now, and with coin values continuing to rise, especially for rarities like this, that number could go even higher. Yes, seriously. Go through your wallet, your car, your desk drawers. You never know. Especially if they've been sitting around untouched since the 70s or 80s. Tons of folks sell off coin collections not knowing what they're worth. Some people even go to banks, get rolls of dimes, and hunt for errors. It's called coin roll hunting, and it's a legit hobby. Just be patient. This kind of treasure hunt takes time, but one find could change your life. That humble little Roosevelt dime you've ignored for decades might just be holding $1 million secret. And if it says 1977 with no mint mark, you could be staring at $2.5 million in the palm of your hand. It's not about luck, it's about paying attention, knowing what to look for, and never underestimating the value of pocket change. Thanks for hanging out with me today. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe for more coin hunting tips, and let me know in the comments, what's the rarest coin you've ever found? Have you ever dropped a dime and not bothered to pick it up? Maybe it slipped between the car seat or rolled under the couch, and you thought, it's just 10 cents. Well, you might want to rethink that, especially if you ever had a 2017 Roosevelt dime with a little P mint mark on it, because there's one out there that's worth a jaw-dropping, coffee spilling, wife yelling $2.6 million. Yeah, you heard me right. A little silver-looking coin you probably tossed in your change jar could be your retirement plan, your beach house in Florida, your dream fishing boat, all rolled into one shiny dime. Stick around, because today we're diving deep into the incredible story of the 2017 P. Roosevelt dime and why one of these little coins fetched over $2.6 million in today's wild coin market. And trust me, by the time this video's done, you're gonna be digging through your junk drawer, pants pockets, old coffee cans. Maybe even grandma's purse from 2017. Now before we go all Indiana Jones on the hunt for this legendary dime, let's rewind a bit and talk about the Roosevelt dime itself. The Roosevelt dime was first minted in 1946, right after President Franklin D. Roosevelt passed away. The man did a lot for this country, including helping found the March of Dimes, which made the dime the perfect tribute. A pretty average year. The mint struck millions of Roosevelt dimes. In fact, the Philadelphia Mint, which puts that little P mark on coins, cranked out well over 1 billion of them. So what makes one of those little guys worth more than a brand new Lamborghini? The answer is simple. It's all about the errors and rarity. Most 2017 P. Roosevelt dimes are worth, well, 10 cents. But a small number of them were struck with ultra-rare mint errors. We're talking about things like double dies, misaligned dies, and even off-center strikes. But the $2.6 million Roosevelt dime? That one had a combo of perfection and mistake. An incredibly rare double die with razor-sharp detail, near-perfect condition, and authenticated by one of the top grading services in the country, and that leads us right into the story of how one lucky collector cashed in. A regular guy in Pennsylvania walks into a convenience store, buys a coffee and some scratch-offs, and gets his change back. He shoves it in his pocket without thinking twice. That change sat in a cup holder in his old Ford truck for weeks. One day, while waiting for his wife outside a nail salon, bored out of his mind, he starts sorting through coins and notices this dime just looks different. So he pulls out his reading glasses, flips it over, and sees the 2017 date with a clear P mint mark. The details on Roosevelt's face are sharp as a tack. Then he sees something odd. The word liberty looks slightly doubled. And so does the motto, "In God We Trust." Most folks would have ignored it, but this guy had watched a video, just like this one, and remembered that some coins with doubled lettering were worth big bucks. He sent it off for grading, and when it came back, it wasn't just a double die. It was one of the cleanest, sharpest struck examples they'd ever seen. MS 70 grade. That's like finding a perfectly preserved muscle car in a barn. Auctioneers jumped on it. Bidding wars broke out. And in the end, that humble dime sold for $2.6 million. He used the money to pay off his mortgage, buy a new truck, and take his grandkids to Disney World. Now I know what you're thinking. How can you find a 2017 P. Roosevelt dime like that? It has to say 2017 and have a P mint mark on the front of the coin, just above the date. Next, get yourself a good magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe. You don't need anything fancy, even one from the dollar store works fine. Now, look very closely at the word Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, and the date. If the letters or numbers look doubled or slightly shadowed, that's a red flag, a good red flag. Also, check Roosevelt's eye and jawline. If you see any doubling or ghosting of the design, that could mean you have a double die. A 2017 dime with doubling in beat-up condition might be worth a few $100 or $1,000. But a mint condition, uncirculated one with that doubling can be worth tens of thousands, and if it's near perfect like the one that sold for $2.6 million, you're looking at life-changing money. So check your change. Ask for rolls of dimes at the bank. Hit up estate sales. Search old junk drawers. You never know where these coins might be hiding. Well, for starters, it's modern, which surprises a lot of folks. Most people assume only old coins are valuable, but that's not true anymore. The coin market is shifting. Collectors are now hunting rare modern coins that are hiding in plain sight, and the 2017 P. Roosevelt dime is the first Philadelphia minted dime in decades to carry the P mint mark. That alone makes it special. Before 2017, Philly dimes didn't show the mint mark at all. Combine that with a high-grade double die, and you've got a unicorn in the world of coin collecting. Also, demand for modern-era coins is going up, and fast. New collectors, investors, and even hedge funds are getting into rare coins because they're tangible assets. You can hold it in your hand, unlike crypto or stocks. So now, the coin that was worth 10 cents in 2017 is sitting in the top-tier elite of collectible American currency, and with only a handful known to exist in that pristine condition, the value isn't going down anytime soon. Last year, I was at a flea market, just poking around like I usually do on Saturdays. I stopped at a table selling coins, most of them old and worn out. 25 cents each. I saw a shiny Roosevelt dime. It was a 2017 P. My heart skipped a beat. I asked the guy if he minded me using my loupe. He shrugged and said sure. I looked closely, and there it was, doubling on, "In God We Trust." I handed the man a quarter and took it home faster than a squirrel with a peanut. Now, mine wasn't worth $2.6 million. It graded lower, maybe an MS 63, and sold for around $900. But hey, that's $899.75 profit on a quarter. I'll take that any day. That made me realize how many of these coins could still be out there, waiting to be found by someone just like you. So listen, if you're sitting on the couch with a jar of change collecting dust, it's time to go treasure hunting. The 2017 P. Roosevelt dime isn't just a piece of pocket change. It's a modern goldmine. And the fact that one sold for $2.6 million should light a fire under every coin collector, every grandpa, every dad, and every average Joe who wants to strike it rich from something hiding in plain sight. Don't wait. Check your coins. Ask for change in dimes. Go to the bank, roll hunt, and talk to your family about what might be hiding in those old sock drawers and jewelry boxes. You might just be holding your ticket to millionaire status. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend who always carries change, and subscribe for more deep dives into coins worth big bucks, where pocket change might just turn into a paycheck. And today, oh boy, you're gonna wanna sit down for this one. Have you ever handed someone a dime without thinking twice? Maybe at a gas station, vending machine, or maybe even flipped one into a fountain and made a wish. Well, let me tell you something. If you flipped a certain 1975 Roosevelt dime, you might have just thrown away $2.7 million. That's right. Not thousand. Not 100,000. Million. With an M, come on man, it's a dime. 10 cents. The kind you find stuck in couch cushions or at the bottom of your glove compartment. But trust me, this is no ordinary dime. This is the holy grail of modern coin collecting, the 1975 no-mint Mark Roosevelt dime. And today, we're going to break it all down. We'll talk about why this coin is so special, how it even came to exist, and how you can find out if you've got one just lying around. And fellas, I've got a little story for you later that might just make you rethink that old coin jar sitting in your garage. So grab yourself a cold drink, kick back, and let's dive into one of the wildest stories in U.S. coin history, first minted in 1946. Right after President Franklin D. Roosevelt passed away, the Roosevelt dime has been in every American's pocket ever since. It's one of the most common coins out there, so what makes the 1975 no-mint Mark version so different? In 1975, dimes were produced at two main locations, Philadelphia and San Francisco. Now, Philadelphia usually didn't put a mint mark on its coins, that's important to remember. However, proof coins, which are specially struck for collectors, were produced in San Francisco and had an S mint mark. In 75, the U.S. Mint was preparing for the big bicentennial celebration the following year. So, instead of making 1975 dated proof dimes, they were gearing up for 1976 coins with that special dual date, 1776 to 1976, and nobody is exactly sure how. A few 1975 proof Roosevelt dimes were struck without the S mint mark. And I'm not talking about your everyday pocket change. These were high-quality proof coins. Mirror finish. Sharp details. Minted for collectors, not for circulation, and yet, these rare dimes ended up in a few proof sets and slipped through the cracks, extremely rare. Only two have been officially confirmed by experts. It's the kind of rarity that makes even the most seasoned collectors sit up straight. Millions of dimes were made in 1975. But only two known without the S mark on a proof coin. That's lottery odds. In 2019, one of those 1975 no S proof dimes sold for a staggering $456,000 at auction. Not bad for a 10-cent piece, huh? Experts now estimate that the current market value of this little coin has soared to around $2.7 million. That's based on its rarity, the historical story behind it, and the explosive growth in demand among high-end collectors. There are folks out there who would pay that much just to own a coin that almost no one else in the world can ever find. First, this coin must be a proof coin. That means it was made for collectors, not circulation. You'll notice a proof coin because it has a mirror-like surface, very crisp detail, and it usually comes from a proof set. If it's got an S under the date, sorry, that's not it. But if it looks like a proof coin and there's no mint mark, you might want to take a seat and start making phone calls. And I mean don't clean it. That's one of the fastest ways to ruin a valuable coin. Just pop it in a soft plastic flip, keep it safe, and get it professionally appraised. Let the experts determine its authenticity. I was helping my buddy clean out his dad's garage. We found all kinds of stuff, old tools, rusty lawn chairs, even a box of cassette tapes. But tucked in the back, there was this dusty little box labeled, Proof Sets, 70s. We popped it open, and I swear, there must have been at least 20 of those little plastic coin sets. My buddy didn't think much of it, said his dad used to order them from the mint back in the day. Well, you better believe we sat down and started checking every single dime. We didn't find the NOS 1975 dime, but we did find a couple coins worth a few $100. And that sparked his whole coin collecting journey. Now the guy's got a whole display case in his den and won't stop texting me pictures of coins, but every time he finds a 1975 dime, he checks it. Just in case. The 1975 NOS isn't the only valuable Roosevelt dime. There are a few others out there that can fetch big money too, depending on errors, conditions, and varieties. Keep an eye out for things like double dies, off-center strikes, or coins that look a little off. But nothing, and I mean nothing, touches the value and mystique of that 1975 NOS proof dime. It's not just the rarity. It's the thrill of the hunt. It's the bragging rights. It's about owning something no one else has. For wealthy collectors, these coins are like trophies. For regular guys like us, it's a dream. A lottery ticket with a little history and a whole lot of shine. If you've got old proof sets from the 70s, especially from 1975, take a good hard look at that dime. Use a magnifier. Look for the mint mark. If it's missing and it looks like a proof coin, you might be holding a gold mine. If you hit the jackpot and think you've got one, don't rush to eBay or your local pawn shop. You want to go through a professional coin grading service like PCGS or NGC. They'll authenticate the coin and grade it, which can make a world of difference when it comes time to sell. Auction houses like Heritage Auctions or Stack's Bowers are where these big boys get sold. They've got the buyers, the reach, and the know-how to get you top dollar. That little dime sitting in your change jar might just be worth more than your pickup truck. Maybe even your house. The 1975 no mint mark Roosevelt dime is one of the rarest and most valuable coins in existence. And someone out there, maybe even someone watching this video, could be sitting on one without even realizing it. So check those old proof sets. Look through that shoebox in the closet. Talk to your dad, your uncle, your neighbor. You never know where one of these coins might be hiding. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment down below if you've ever found anything cool in your change. Who knows, your story might be the next one I share. Thanks for watching, gentlemen. And remember, don't underestimate pocket change. Sometimes, it's worth millions. Hey fellas, have you ever looked at a plain old dime and thought, there's no way this little thing could be worth more than lunch money? Well, think again. Because today, we're diving into a 2018 P. Roosevelt dime that's turning heads and stacking bank accounts, with a mind-blowing value of $2.8 million. Yeah, you heard me right. A dime. 10 cents. Worth almost $3 million. Now if you're like me, you've probably got a coffee can or an old cookie tin full of loose change sitting somewhere in the house. And who knows, one of those shiny little coins could be your golden ticket. So kick back, relax, and let's take a wild ride through the story of one of the most valuable dimes in recent history. Let me tell you how I first got into this whole coin collecting thing. It all started with my grandfather. He used to carry this old, beat-up leather wallet filled with silver coins. He'd always tell me, one day, these little guys will be worth a fortune. Of course, as a kid, I just wanted a couple of quarters for the arcade. But now? Now I get it. Fast forward a few decades, and I find myself digging through my own pocket change. I pulled out a 2018 Roosevelt dime one day, gave it a spin, and something just looked off. That's when I started researching, really diving into what makes certain coins worth way more than face value. And that's how I stumbled across this jaw-dropping 2018 P dime. First off, let's break down what we're talking about here. The 2018 P Roosevelt dime is part of the standard issue from the Philadelphia Mint, hence the P mint mark. Millions of these were struck. So why in the world would one be worth $2.80 million? Now this isn't just your average dime. We're talking about a coin that has something so unique, so bizarre, that it's turned the numismatic world upside down. It could be a misstrike, a rare metal composition, or even a double die, all things that collectors go crazy over. So here's the juicy part. The $2.8 million Roosevelt dime has a rare die error that happened during the minting process. This particular coin was struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination, most likely a foreign coin. That alone is incredibly rare, but here's where it gets wild. The coin also has what's called a full bands detail on the reverse. The horizontal lines across the torch are fully defined, sharp as a razor. Combine that with the rare planchet, and you've got a once-in-a-lifetime find. On top of that, this dime was certified by a top grading service at a perfect MS70, meaning it's in mint condition, no scratches, no wear, just pure perfection. That's the coin trifecta right there: rare error, perfect grade, and high demand. This exact dime made headlines when it hit the auction block. Bidding started modestly, but once collectors realized what they were looking at, it took off like a rocket. Final hammer price? A whopping $2.8 million. That's not just a payday, that's life-changing money. A private collector with a reputation for chasing once-in-a-generation coins. And he got himself a beauty. The seller? Just a regular guy who found the coin while sorting through his pocket change. Talk about a lucky day. So how do you know if you've got $1 million dime in your own stash? Start by checking for the 2018 P mint mark. Flip the coin and check the bands on the torch. Are they crisp? Sharp? That's step 1. Next, look closely for any signs of errors. Double letters, off-center strikes, or weird coloring can all be clues. If you see something that looks out of place, do not spend that coin. Set it aside. Get a magnifying glass and really study it. Once you think you've got something special, take it to a professional grader like PCGS or NGC. That's where the real magic happens. A coin you thought was worth 10 cents might just turn into a millionaire's dream. Now let's talk money. Why is a coin like this worth so much? It's all about supply and demand. There's only one known 2018 P Roosevelt dime with this specific error, in this condition. That makes it a trophy piece, something every serious collector would fight to own. The demand for rare modern coins is higher than ever. People are waking up to the fact that valuable coins aren't just old dusty relics, they could be sitting in your change jar right now. With inflation eating up our savings, finding a coin worth millions feels like winning the lottery. Except instead of scratching off a ticket, you're flipping over dimes. While the 2018 P is the star of the show today, there are a few other Roosevelt dimes worth keeping an eye out for. Big Bucks Point 1968 No-S proof dime. That's a major rarity, and don't forget the 1982 No-P dime. One of those sold for thousands of dollars. The point is, Roosevelt dimes are one of the best-kept secrets in coin collecting. They're small, unassuming, but packed with value if you know what to look for. So next time you're fishing through your change at the gas station or dumping out a handful of coins onto the kitchen counter, don't overlook those dimes. One of them just might be your ticket to a multi-million-dollar payday. The 2018 P Roosevelt dime shows us that lightning can strike in the most unexpected places. All it takes is a sharp eye, a little knowledge, and a bit of luck. If you've got a coin story of your own, drop it in the comments. I love hearing from fellow collectors. And if you found this video helpful, hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next $1 million find. Where pocket change might just pay off your mortgage. I'm glad you're here because today we're talking about a tiny coin with a huge payday, the 1970 D Roosevelt dime that's worth a jaw-dropping $2.9 million. Yep, you heard that right. We're talking about a dime, 10 cents, that could make you a millionaire. This isn't fantasy or folklore. This is real-deal coin collecting gold. And trust me, you'll want to stick around for this one. Because if you've got one of these little silver gems hiding in a drawer, you could be sitting on a retirement plan you didn't even know you had. Before we dive into the nitty-gritty, let me tell you a little story. So, a couple of months back, I'm helping my buddy Joe clean out his garage. Now Joe's like a lot of us, he's been through a couple of jobs, raised a family, worked his tail off, and saved a few jars of coins along the way. You know, the old Folgers can type situation. We're sorting coins, not thinking much of it, when I pull out a small stack of dimes. Just for fun, I start looking at dates. That's when I see it. 1970 D. My heart skips. I flip it over, check a few key features, and let me tell you, I almost dropped the thing. Joe thought I saw a spider. I'm yelling, this might be worth a couple $1,000,000. He thought I was messing with him, until I showed him exactly what made that little dime worth nearly $3 million. And that, my friends, is what we're going to get into today. Let's start with the basics. The Roosevelt dime has been around since 1946, replacing the Mercury dime. It was created to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt after his passing. It's been minted consistently ever since, and most dimes out there aren't worth more than, well, 10 cents. But every now and then, one sneaks through the cracks that changes the game. This little guy was struck at the Denver Mint. That's what the D stands for, and at first glance, it looks pretty normal. It's got Roosevelt's profile on the front, torch and olive branches on the back. Same old dime you've used to buy a Coke or make a phone call back in the day. So what makes this dime worth nearly $3 million? Specifically, a misprint that came from a proof coin. That's right, the 1970 D Roosevelt dime was mistakenly struck over a 1941 Canadian dime. Yeah, seriously, during the minting process, an old Canadian dime somehow ended up in the press where they were striking Roosevelt dimes. That means if you look closely at this coin, and I mean real closely, you'll see traces of the older coin underneath. We're talking about ghost images, remnants of lettering, sometimes even a visible date from the Canadian coin. It's what collectors call a double denomination error, and it's rare. I mean extremely rare. We're talking about one known example in pristine condition that hit the market at auction and sold for $2.90 million. Think about that. A mistake worth millions. Wish more of my mistakes turned out like that. Alright, here's the part that might just make your heart race a little. 1970, then look for the D mint mark, which will be on the front of the coin, near the date. That tells you it came from Denver. Now here's where it gets tricky. You'll need a magnifying glass or, ideally, a jeweler's loupe. What you're looking for are signs of that Canadian dime underneath. This could be part of a maple leaf, partial lettering like Canada or 1941, or anything that looks out of place. If you find something strange, do not clean the coin. I repeat, do not clean it. That could ruin the value. Take it to a reputable coin dealer or send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. They'll be able to authenticate it, and if you've got the real deal, your life might be about to change. As of today, that famous 1970 D Roosevelt dime error is valued at $2.9 million. It sold at auction to a private collector who was willing to throw down that kind of cash because of its insane rarity and historical oddity. To put that in perspective, that's more than the average house in most states. That's early retirement money. That's travel the world, buy a boat, live your best life money. It was found in circulation. That's right. Someone had it in their change jar. There's a chance, even if it's slim, that one of you watching right now has one too. Now if you don't find that exact error, don't worry. There are other valuable 1970 D dime errors out there. Some have off-center strikes, others have doubled dies where the lettering looks blurry or doubled. There are even some with full bands on the torch that are worth hundreds or thousands if they're in mint condition. So don't overlook any 1970 D dimes you come across. Every single one deserves a second look. Now I know some of y'all are thinking, this sounds great, but I don't have time to look through thousands of coins. Well, let me tell you something. This isn't just a hobby, it's therapy. After a long day, nothing calms the nerves like dumping out a pile of coins, turning on some old school rock or classic country, and hunting for treasure. It's a hobby you can pass down. Get your kids or grandkids involved. Teach them what to look for. You'd be surprised how quickly they pick it up. Plus, it beats them staring at a phone all day. It's about history, connection, and the thrill of the hunt. Alright fellas, if this video taught you something new, or at least got you curious about your spare change, do me a favor, hit that like button, share it with a buddy, and subscribe for more coin stories that could change your life. If you think you found a 1970 D dime with something weird going on, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear about it. Who knows, maybe you'll be the next guy in the headlines for finding a $2.9 million dime. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Keep checking your change, stay curious, and remember, sometimes the smallest coins bring the biggest surprises. You ever dig through your change jar looking for lunch money, only to find a coin that makes your heart skip a beat? Well, let me tell you something. Somewhere out there, someone cashed in on a 2005 Roosevelt dime for $1 million. That's right. A 10-cent piece turned into $1 million payday. Can you believe that? Now before you go flipping over every dime in your junk drawer, stick around. Because today, we're diving deep into the mysterious, rare, and unbelievably valuable 2005 Roosevelt dime. You're gonna want to hear this one all the way through. Who knows, you might just be sitting on a fortune without even realizing it. Let me tell you about something that happened to me last summer. I was at my buddy Joe's house, real old school guy, loves fishing, drinks black coffee, and still carries change in one of those leather coin purses from the 70s. We were sorting through his old coin jars, just for fun. I figured we'd maybe find a wheat penny or two. But lo and behold, out pops a shiny little 2005 dime. Looked like any other dime, except for one thing, it had this strange doubling on the torch. I almost didn't see it at first. Now I'm no professional grader, but I've been around coins long enough to know this one was different. That little dime got me researching like a madman, and what I found out is what I'm about to share with you. First off, the Roosevelt dime has been around since 1946, created to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt after his death. It replaced the Mercury dime and has been the same general design ever since. Roosevelt's profile on the front, and the torch, olive branch, and oak branch on the reverse. Now, the 2005 dime, minted in Philadelphia, was meant to be just another common coin. And most of them are. Millions were made. But every once in a while, the mint makes a mistake. And those mistakes can turn a regular coin into a gold mine. What made this particular dime go from pocket change to $1 million masterpiece? The $1 million 2005 Roosevelt dime is known for a dramatic die clash error. That means the dies, those heavy steel punches that stamp the coin, actually smashed into each other with no coin in between, leaving behind deep, unusual markings. Then, when coins were struck afterward, they ended up with strange images, shadows, or outlines where they weren't supposed to be. 1 2005 dime showed parts of the obverse image, Roosevelt's face, ghosting through on the reverse side. It also had a rotated die alignment, which means the back of the coin was flipped at an angle that's completely wrong. Add in some doubling, a strong strike, and an almost proof-like shine, and you've got yourself a unicorn. That dime ended up in pristine condition, graded by a top-tier agency as MS-68. That's Mint State 68, nearly perfect. Only one known example has this exact combination of errors, quality, and uniqueness. And collectors? They went crazy. Now I know what you're thinking. How in the world does a mistake make something more valuable? Well, imagine if the factory accidentally made a car with 3 steering wheels, and only one ever made it off the lot. That car would be in a museum, not a junkyard. Same with coins. When it's rare, it's desirable. When it's a one-of-a-kind, people throw down serious cash. Plus, the coin market's been heating up lately. People are looking at coins not just as collectibles, but as investments. That one 2005 dime changed hands a few times, and the price kept climbing. Eventually, it was auctioned off to a private collector for $1 million. That's right, 10 cents, $1 million. Alright fellas, now we're getting into the good part. P for Philadelphia, right under the year 2005. Look for doubling. ghost images, strange outlines on the torch or lettering. Flip the coin vertically. If Roosevelt's head is right side up but the torch is sideways or upside down, you might have something lustrous shine. It looked almost proof-like, even though it was not a proof coin. Now, don't go polishing your coins to make them shine. Cleaning ruins the value. But if you find one that checks these boxes, it's time to get it professionally graded. If you suspect you've got something special, send it to a top grading service like PCGS or NGC. They'll authenticate it, grade it, and seal it in a plastic case. That's your ticket to the big leagues, and if it really is something incredible, you can sell it at auction, or keep it as a badge of honor. A 2005 dime with a P mint mark. Major minting errors, like die clash and rotated design. That coin was found by accident. Somebody like you or me just happened to look close and strike it rich. You know, I told my wife about that $1 million dime and she rolled her eyes. She said, "Great, now you'll be digging through every vending machine return slot like a raccoon." And, well, she's not wrong. I've got half the town thinking I lost my mind. But hey, if I find one, they'll be calling me a genius. Let's step back a second and talk about the U.S. Mint in Philadelphia. This place has been pumping out coins since 1792. With that kind of history, you know mistakes are bound to happen. And every time they do, it's a chance for collectors like us to find something special. Lots of quarters for the State Series, nickels with New Jefferson designs, and tons of dimes. So it's no surprise that a few slipped through the cracks, but the real surprise is how one dime, out of hundreds of millions, turned into a millionaire's treasure. Let's talk current value. That $1 million dime was the high water mark, sure. But today, any 2005 P. Roosevelt dime with rare errors, high grade, or unusual features can fetch thousands, sometimes tens of thousands. Collectors are paying top dollar, especially for anything graded MS66 and above with mint errors. Even minor clashes or off-center strikes from 2005 are commanding attention. So the next time you're at the car wash, or cashing in your coins at the grocery store, slow down and take a peek. You might be looking at a life changer. Alright guys, here's your mission. Dig through those old jars. Check your dresser drawers. Look in the couch cushions. Anywhere you've stashed change, check every dime, especially those 2005 P dimes. You just might find the next $1 million Roosevelt. You better come back and let me know. I'll even buy you lunch. Hit that like button if you learned something today. Subscribe if you want more crazy coin stories and millionaire finds. And drop a comment below if you've got a coin you're curious about. I love hearing from you guys. Thanks for watching, and remember, keep your eyes sharp and your dimes closer. You never know what fortune's hiding in plain sight. Where pocket change could turn into pure treasure. Now let me ask you this: have you ever looked at a dime and thought this little silver coin could buy you a beach house, a boat, and still leave enough left over for steak dinners for life? No, well, today we're talking about the 2013 Roosevelt dime with a P mint mark that's currently worth a jaw-dropping $1.1 million. That's right, you might be holding $1 million coin in your hand right now and not even know it. So grab your coin jars, your old dresser drawers, and that change hiding under your truck seat, because by the end of this video you'll know exactly what to look for. Let me tell you something that happened to my buddy Ron last year. Ron's a retired fireman, good guy, doesn't trust online banking, still writes checks and swears his old pickup's got another 100,000 miles in it. One day Ron comes over holding a handful of change, says he's rolling coins for his granddaughter's piggy bank. He drops a couple of dimes on the table and says, "Hey, you think any of these are worth keeping?" I take a look and bam, I see a 2013 P. Roosevelt dime that looks different, not scratched, not worn, but something was off in a good way. We got it checked out by a local coin shop, and let me tell you, the guy behind the counter nearly fell out of his chair. Turns out Ron's dime had a rare error and ended up being worth six figures. He's not selling just yet, but he's getting offers left and right. Let's take a quick ride back in time. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946 in honor of President Franklin D. Roosevelt and has been a staple in American pockets ever since. Now the design hasn't changed much over the years, but what makes certain dimes like the 2013 P version worth big money is all about rarity, condition, and minting mistakes. Coins minted in Philadelphia carry the P mint mark, and in 2013 there were millions of these dimes made, but only a tiny handful came out with bizarre and valuable errors. So what exactly makes the 2013 P Roosevelt Dime worth 1.1 million bucks. Let me break it down. The high-value dimes usually have one or more of these features. This is when the coin is struck more than once by the die and creates a doubling effect, especially noticeable in the lettering and numbers. On a 2013 P dime, that could mean the date Roosevelt's eye or even the word liberty looks slightly doubled. Imagine the coin being stamped too far to one side, leaving part of the design cut off. That's another big red flag for rarity. Collectors love these dimes. Today are made from a copper core with a nickel outer layer. If the nickel coating is missing, you'll see the copper exposed, and that makes it rare. This one's subtle but important. If you flip the coin and look at the torch between the olive branches, the horizontal bands should be crisp and fully struck. That shows the coin was made with fresh dies, and collectors pay top dollar for it. Now, the $1 million 2013 P dime had a rare combination of these errors, most notably a double die and full bands, plus it was in pristine uncirculated condition. Let's talk cash. You're probably wondering where this 1.1 million figure is coming from. Over the last couple years, coin collecting has exploded. Online auctions are bringing in record-setting prices for rare coins, and the 2013 P dime is one of the most hunted modern dimes today. In 2023, a pristine error dime from the 2013 P mint mark was listed at a high-end auction, and after a bidding war it sold for over $1.1 million. Collectors and investors want this dime because it's a modern mint error that defies the odds. It's not some ancient silver coin, it's a coin you might have gotten in change at the gas station just 10 years ago. That's what makes it exciting: the mystery, the rarity, and the possibility. You're probably sitting there with a pocket full of dimes right now, wondering how to spot the good ones. So here's what you do: grab a magnifying glass or a coin loupe. You're looking for tiny details here. Look for the P mint mark on the front of the coin right near Roosevelt's neck. Check the date, 2013. If you've got that, you're off to a great start. Examine the lettering and numbers for doubling, especially on the word liberty and the date. Flip the coin and inspect the torch. Check for full visible bands. They should be sharp, not faded. If anything looks off, take a picture and send it to a professional coin grader or a reputable coin dealer. Most importantly, don't clean it. That can actually lower the value. If you think you've got something valuable, the next step is certification. You'll want to send the coin to a professional grading company like PCGS or NGC. They'll check for authenticity, assign it a grade, and if it's a true rarity, they'll seal it in a tamper-proof case with a barcode and registration. A coin like this with a mint state grade, especially MS67 or higher with visible errors, is where that $1 million value comes from. And believe me, once that slab comes back with a high grade, you'll have collectors lining up. Now, if you're like me and love the thrill of the hunt, here's where you should look: coin rolls from the bank. Ask your bank for rolls of dimes and search through them at home estate sales and garage sales. People don't always know what they have. Coin shows and antique shops. Keep your eyes open and don't be afraid to ask questions. Your own change jar. You'd be surprised what's been sitting in there for years. I once found a 1968 S-proof dime in a bag of laundry quarters. Go figure. The 2013 P dime isn't the only treasure out there. Here are a few other valuable Roosevelt dimes worth hunting. 1975 No S-proof dime worth up to $4,500,001,982. No P dime can go for $1,500 or more. 1996 W dime minted in West Point with low mintage. The point is, there's a lot more than meets the eye with these little 10-cent coins. So there you have it, fellas. That 2013 P Roosevelt dime might be sitting in your pocket right now, just waiting to change your life. We're talking about a coin that could pay off your mortgage, fund your grandkids' college, and still have enough left over to buy that Harley you've been eyeballing since 1997. Remember, it's not about getting lucky, it's about knowing what to look for. And now you do. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, drop a comment if you've ever found a valuable coin, and don't forget to subscribe because we've got a lot more coin secrets coming your way. Thanks for watching and keep hunting. You never know when your next dime might be worth $1 million. Where loose change could change your life. Now, how many of you have a little jar at home, sitting on your dresser, on the kitchen counter, or maybe in that old sock drawer, filled with nickels, pennies, and of course, dimes? You probably look at those coins and think, nothing but coffee change. Well, I'm here to tell you something that might just knock your socks off. And I'm talking about a 2017 Roosevelt dime with a tiny little P mint mark. Could be worth not 10 cents, not $10, not even $1,000, but a jaw-dropping $1.2 million. That's right. One little silver-colored dime from 2017 is sitting pretty in the Millionaires Club. And today, we're diving deep into exactly why, how to spot one, and what makes this coin so valuable. So stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll be sprinting to check your change jar, and you just might thank yourself with $1 million smile. About a year ago, I was at a garage sale, you know, one of those spots where you can find old tools, vinyl records, maybe a weird lamp or two. I bought a dusty old piggy bank for $5. It was shaped like a rooster, no idea why. Anyway, I took it home, cracked it open, and started going through the change. A shiny little Roosevelt dime dated 2017 with a P mint mark. Now, it looked like any other dime, but something about it caught my eye. Maybe it was the clean strike or the way it reflected light, who knows. I decided to dig deeper. Alright, let's break this down. Let's talk about the Roosevelt dime, why the 2017 P is special, and how to spot the $1 million version of this coin. The Roosevelt dime was first introduced in 1946, the year after President Franklin D. Roosevelt died. He had a strong connection to the March of Dimes campaign, which helped fight polio, so it was only fitting he ended up on the 10-cent piece. Since then, the design hasn't changed much. But not all dimes are created equal. 2017 was a unique year in U.S. coin history. Why? It marked the 225th anniversary of the U.S. Mint. And for the first time ever, the Philadelphia Mint, which usually doesn't use a mint mark on dimes, added a tiny P on the Roosevelt dime. This was a one-year thing, and people didn't even notice at first. But coin collectors? Oh, they noticed. And that P mint mark made history. Most of the 2017 P dimes are worth face value, just 10 cents. But a very, very small number of them had minting errors or rare features that skyrocketed their value. That means the horizontal lines at the top and bottom of the torch on the back are fully struck and clearly separated. It's a big deal in the coin world. Some of these dimes show doubling in the words, "Liberty, in God we trust," or the date. That's not damage, that's a minting error, and it's rare. The highest possible grade a coin can get. Mint state 70 means the coin is flawless, even under magnification. One 2017 P dime in this condition with all the right features recently sold at auction for $1.2 million. Let that sink in. A coin that probably passed through a vending machine or got tossed in a car cup holder is now worth more than a Ferrari. The P should be right above the date on the front of the coin. Use a magnifying glass to look at the torch bands on the reverse. Full bands are sharp and clean. You'll need good light and a jeweler's loupe. Check the lettering on the front, that's where doubling usually appears. If your coin has scratches, dents, or looks worn out, it's probably not a jackpot. But if it looks brand new, you might be onto something. First off, don't clean it. That's a rookie mistake. Cleaning a coin drops its value fast. Next, take it to a reputable coin dealer or send it to a grading service like PCGS or NGC. They'll evaluate it and give you an official grade. Then, if it checks out, call an auction house. And maybe call your accountant too, because your life is about to change. You might wonder, who on earth is dropping over $1 million on a dime? Some collectors are obsessed with perfection. They want the best of the best, the rarest, the sharpest, the most flawless coin ever minted in a certain year, and investors see coins like these as long-term assets. They buy rare coins and hold onto them just like you'd buy real estate or stocks. That it's like owning a piece of American history, only shinier. While we're at it, here are a few other dimes you should keep your eyes peeled for. But the 2017 P is special because it's modern and still in circulation. The 2017 P Roosevelt dime might look like just another coin in your change pile. But if it's in perfect shape, with the right minting error, and graded as a top-tier specimen, it could be worth $1.2 million. Imagine turning 10 cents into $1 million. It's not a fairy tale, it's reality for one lucky collector. And it could be you next. So do me a favor. After this video, go check your pockets, your car's center console, that old drawer in your nightstand, or your dad's coin jar. Take a closer look at those dimes. You never know what kind of treasure is hiding in plain sight. If you find one, don't forget who told you first. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe for more coin collecting tips that could make you rich without lifting anything heavier than a dime. Hey fellas, let me ask you something. What's the last thing you thought would make you rich? Was it your car? Nope. That old watch? Maybe. But how about a Roosevelt dime? Yep, I'm talking about one of those little silver guys you probably dropped under your car seat and forgot about. Now hold on to your coffee because today, we're diving into a 1978 Roosevelt dime that's worth, wait for it, $1.3 million in today's market. That's right. A coin that could have paid for a candy bar in the 70s is now worth more than a house. Heck, it's worth more than a mansion. In this video, we're gonna uncover what makes this coin so insanely valuable, what to look for in your spare change, and how one small error can mean big-time cash. And don't go anywhere, because toward the end, I'll share a true story about how I almost spent a rare dime at a gas station, and didn't even know it. Alright, let's start with the basics. The Roosevelt dime has been in circulation since 1946, honoring President Franklin D. Roosevelt. You've seen it. You've spent it. You've probably dropped it in the couch and said, not worth the effort. The one we're talking about today is the 1978 Roosevelt dime minted in Denver. Now, millions of these were produced. In fact, over 390 million were struck that year at the Denver Mint. So what makes one of them worth over $1 million? This isn't your run-of-the-mill coin. This dime has something incredibly unique and rare about it. That's what collectors are paying big bucks for. So, let's break down this $1.3 million dime. What exactly makes it worth that much? Experts believe the most valuable version of the 1978 dime has a double die obverse. That means the image on the front of the coin was struck twice slightly out of alignment, creating a shadow or doubling effect on Roosevelt's face, the word liberty, and the date. And if that's not enough, this same coin also has a misaligned die strike and possibly a mirror-proof finish, even though it wasn't meant to be a proof coin at all. When all those factors combine, you get a unicorn. A needle in a haystack. A dime that doesn't belong, and that's exactly why collectors are shelling out serious money. Now here's the kicker. That $1.3 million sale wasn't just hype. It happened at a major auction, where coin collectors went toe-to-toe, wallet to wallet, bidding it up like it was the Mona Lisa of dimes. Well, first, grab your spare change jar. Dig into that old coffee can you've been ignoring for years. Or check the change in your truck. Because the 1978 dime is still out there. And you don't need to be Indiana Jones to find it, you just need good eyes and a little bit of patience. Look for a small D on the front, right above the date. That's for Denver. Use a magnifying glass and check for doubling on Roosevelt's face, the word liberty, and the date. Does the coin shine differently? Does it look like a mirror or a proof coin? That's a good sign. If the image looks off-center or misaligned, that might be a valuable strike error. If you think you've got one, do not take it to your local pawn shop or coin kiosk. They might give you $1. Maybe $2 if they're feeling generous. What you want is a professional grading service. Companies like PCGS or NGC will certify the coin's grade and condition. If it's the real deal, that certification could make all the difference in your payday. A few years back, I was at a gas station. I reached into my pocket, grabbed some change, and handed the guy a few dimes along with a crumpled dollar bill. As I'm waiting for him to hand me my receipt, I glance down at the counter, and I see this super shiny 1978 dime I just gave him. Something about it caught my eye. I asked if I could swap it back for another one, told him I was just superstitious or something. He laughs and says sure. I took that dime home, put it under a magnifier, and guess what? Double die. Slight misalignment. Incredible condition. Now, mine didn't end up being the $1 million version, but it was worth a few $100. And that moment made me realize, these coins are out there, and they're not all sitting in fancy collections. They're in our pockets. Our junk drawers. Our glove compartments. Once just a 10-cent piece, now sits among the rarest modern coins ever, with a value reaching $1.3 million. That's life-changing money from something most people wouldn't even bend over to pick up off the sidewalk. If you're between 30 and 70, I know you've handled more coins than you can count. Maybe you've got a stash you haven't touched in years. It's time to revisit that change. You might just be holding on to a fortune. Start inspecting those coins. Get a magnifier, do your research, and keep an eye out for anything unusual. And if you find something that looks promising, don't sit on it. Get it graded. Get it insured. And maybe get yourself something nice, like a retirement home with a hot tub. Before you go, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and leave a comment if you've ever come across a rare coin. I'd love to hear your story, and hey, maybe your story will be the next $1 million headline. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Keep hunting, keep collecting, and I'll catch you next time with more coins that are worth way more than pocket change. Hey fellas, listen up. What if I told you that a tiny little dime from 1985, yeah, that little coin you probably used for a cup of coffee or to make a payphone call back in the day, could now be worth over $1.4 million? You heard me right. 1 dime. 10 cents. Worth more than a luxury sports car. More than most folks' retirement savings. And the crazy part? It might be hiding in your old coin jar, your junk drawer, or even in your pocket change right now. So grab a cup of coffee, sit back, and let's take a deep dive into the incredible story of the 1985 Roosevelt dime, a coin that's turning heads in the collecting world and changing lives one lucky find at a time. Now let me tell you a little story. A few years back, I was helping my Uncle Joe clean out his garage. He's an old school guy, worked hard his whole life, never paid much attention to coins. But as we were sorting through some boxes, I found this dusty, rusty old piggy bank that looked like it hadn't seen the light of day since the 80s. A shiny 1985 dime with the Philadelphia Mint mark. Now, I didn't think much of it at the time. I tossed it in my pocket. Later that night, I was scrolling online and came across an article about rare Roosevelt dimes. My eyes about popped out of my head when I saw the numbers. Turns out, I didn't have the rare dime, but that one moment changed how I looked at coins forever. And it might just do the same for you today. So let's get into it. The Roosevelt dime has been around since 1946, created to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt. In 1985, the U.S. Mint struck these dimes in massive numbers, over 1.2 billion of them at the Philadelphia Mint alone. Now, you're probably thinking, how can a coin that common be worth anything? Well, here's the twist: the rare $1 million version of this dime isn't just any 1985 dime. It's a very specific variety, a coin with a unique minting error that makes it one of a kind. What you're looking for is a 1985 Roosevelt dime with one or more of the following: full bands on the torch on the reverse side. That means the horizontal lines on the torch are fully struck and sharp. Most dimes from 1985 have weak strikes, so this is rare. Off-center strike or double die errors, where the lettering looks doubled or the image is not perfectly centered. Like a dime struck on a penny or foreign coin blank. That's when things get real interesting. Although this is more common in 1982, there have been rumors of a 1985 dime with a missing mint mark. I'm talking about a coin that's been sitting untouched since it came out of the mint, graded MS 68 or higher. Put those together, and boom, you've got a dime that collectors will fight over. And in one auction, that exact kind of 1985 Roosevelt dime sold for over $1.4 million. First, grab a magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe. You're looking for super fine details on the torch. Those bands need to be bold and complete. Then, check the edges of the coin. Any strange thickness? Slight off-centering? Doubled lettering? The little p right above the date. Is it missing? Is it blurry? That could mean a minting issue. Also check for color. If it looks coppery or bronze, it could be a wrong planchet dime, which is huge. This one matters. If it's got nicks, scratches, or worn edges, it's probably not gonna fetch 6 figures, but it's still worth a look. You'll want to send it to a reputable coin grading company. I recommend PCGS or NGC. They'll grade the coin, authenticate it, and slap it in a tamper-proof case. Once it's graded, the value goes way up, especially if it gets a high mint state grade like MS 67 or MS 68. Then you've got options. You can list it on an auction site like Heritage or Stax Bowers. Or go private with a serious collector. Either way, you're looking at a potential 6 or even 7-figure payday. The coin market's been booming in recent years, especially for rare coins and high-grade rarities. That $1.4 million sale? It wasn't a fluke. Collectors are out there, hungry for unique, high-quality coins. Why? Because these coins aren't just metal. They're history. They're tiny time capsules. And to serious collectors, they're worth more than gold. Plus, the Roosevelt series doesn't get as much love as others like the Morgan dollar or the Lincoln cent, which means there's still opportunity to get in early on rising value coins. And hey, while we're talking dimes, here are a few other ones you might want to keep an eye out for. And of course, the 1949s in high grade can bring in serious money too. So don't sleep on your change, that a 10-cent coin from 1985 could make you a millionaire. That mint errors and high grades are the name of the game, and that coin collecting isn't just a hobby, it can be a goldmine, especially if you know what to look for. Before you go tossing your change in the vending machine or dropping it in the tip jar, take a good look. You never know what treasure might be hiding in plain sight. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. I've got more content coming your way all about rare coins, hidden treasures, and the crazy stories behind the money in your pocket. Drop a comment below if you've ever found a rare coin or want me to cover a specific one. I read every single one of them, yeah, even the ones from Uncle Joe who still thinks his 1987 penny is worth $1 million. Share this video with a friend who's always got a handful of change. You might just change their life. And remember, every coin has a story. Yours might just be worth a fortune.